Welcome to the Best 5 Minute Wine Podcast with Forrest Kelly.
Sophie Menin, co-author of A Year in the Vineyard, a beautifully crafted book. We continue our conversation.
Best 5 Minute Wine Podcast.
I don't have a physical copy of the book yet, but I'm looking forward to it. But just looking at the pictures and reading it in the PDF, I really appreciate how you convey the beauty and complexity of vineyard life. How would you describe the book?
I would say it's a journey through the seasons where it links stories from wineries from all over the globe so that you can really understand what happens in the winter, what the activity is in the vineyard, what happens in the spring as the buds are bursting and they're fragile to frost, what happens in the early summer as the flowers are fragile to hail and rain and wetness, and then how they're cultivated and developed. And then, how is wine style often determined in the harvest? And then what happens after the harvest, where the decisions are made that impact the years to come, and how the vine goes through entire processes before it goes dormant for the winter. So it's a very sensual, tactile journey through the year, taking you to corners of the world you might not know very well: the Canary Islands, the Bekaa Valley, South Africa, Sicily, obviously Burgundy, Bordeaux, Napa. It's a journey.
In paragraph 3 of your introduction to the book, you say, in recent years, the question of how wine is made in the vineyard has evolved from spirited conversations about traditions and aesthetics and environmental concerns to a dynamic rethinking of the relationship between the vineyard and its surroundings. Is that a new thought, or is that something because of climate change, or is that a traditional thought?
I think a lot of what's old is new again, and we really understand a lot more about companion planting, the importance of biodiversity. You cannot have a huge monoculture and have the vines be safe, to have them not need exterior, outside inputs for their health. But if you have biodiversity, if you're working with the forests, on the edge, or whatever plantings are on the edge of your vineyard, and planting grasses in your vineyard, you can keep the vines cool. You can keep, you can have multiple water sources that feed each other. So the idea is to create naturally resilient environments. When I first started writing about wine, the conversation was about, conventional winemaking, organic winemaking, or biodynamic winemaking. And now it's not, people really believe that it's not a question of the quality of your input. It's about creating more resilient environments. And the way to do that is to introduce biodiversity.
One of my favorite images in the book is, I believe, page 34, where it's a picture of the vines and there's fire and smoke.
Beyond directly warming the vineyards, these smudge pots, they generate a cloud of smoke that insulates the vineyard floor and prevents the frigid air from sinking down and harming the buds and shoots. So it actually creates a protective blanket of warmth over the vineyard floor.
So they activate these, you called them smudge pot?
Mm-hmm.
That's funny because that's what sailors, that's what they call boats with an engine.
But they're generally put out when there's a potential for the buds to freeze. The temperature is going to drop below 32 degrees Fahrenheit or 0 degrees Celsius. The smudge pots, where they're used, are put out.
Another favorite image is a close-up of a vine. It's got multiple twists and turns, and it's flaky like a croissant. The outer layers are white, and you've got the dark brown. Let me look here. It's page 20.
It's beautiful. Yeah, I think that might be a vineland that had been trimmed, actually, during winter pruning. But you see at the same time, the vineyard floor is waking up, and you have all of the clover, which is sowing nitrogen in the soil, and that first sign of life, it looks like a buttercup, rising from the ground. And it is that sense that nature shows you every year is renewal, right? We see that every spring.
The book, A Year in the Vineyard, out now. You can get it on Sophie Menin's website at sophiemenin, MENIN.com.
The Best 5 Minute Wine Podcast.
Don't forget my favorite part.
Please like and follow. Oh.